everyone, it's Mavvery.
Today, I'm going to be drawing myself if I was in different indie shows. So first up, we're going to do the amazing digital Circus, which has gotten really popular in the last couple months, I would say, since its first release in January, I think. Also, I'm a little sick, so my voice sounds kind of weird, so sorry about that. Anyways, I was very apprehensive to do this one because, as you probably know, it's a 3D medium, which means that it's all created in whatever software they use. Might be Blender or something else, I'm not really sure. And I don't do 3D art, my art is all 2D. So that's why I was so nervous about having to capture the essence of the amazing digital Circus without having the access to the tools that they use to actually create the show. So as you can see, I went in here and I was just gonna wing it. I was just gonna make a 2D character. It's fine. This is maybe as if when Gooseworks was designing the characters, I know that they did 2D because it's kind of hard to start from scratch from 3D. So I kind of approached it as if I was designing a character for myself, which I guess I am. And so I was going to go with the stereotypical artist, like a beanie and a little paintbrush, and I was going to carry on a paintbrush, but that felt so, I don't know how to say this, but basic, like as if everyone who's going to tackle this or has tackled this is going to make kind of an artist persona, because that's kind of guaranteed if you're designing a character that you are somewhat of an artist. And so I went in kind of a different direction. You can see that I've made myself into kind of a nurse character, and of course the Amazing Digital Circus doesn't really have humans in their designs, and so I tried to make it kind of like a doll, which I know might be kind of copying off of Ragatha, but I am not used to creating characters like this. If you look at any of my other art, I usually draw humans, or at least human-adjacent characters. So when you have characters like Zooble and Jax who are so far removed from what humans actually look like, it kind of makes it difficult to design a completely original character, kind of like that. So anyways, the reason that I did a nurse character is because you probably don't know this about me, but how do I say this without giving away too much? I am currently in the process of studying specifically to become a healthcare provider. And so I happen to have knowledge and interest and somewhat experience in this, and so I decided to create myself a little nurse character because it felt right for me, and it felt maybe, I could do treatment even though they don't really get hurt or die. It still kind of feels like a cute little part that I could make. So anyways, I decided to go with this nurse character who is sort of like a rag doll, but I, in my mind, pictured it to be closer to a voodoo doll, because I know that the whole thing, like with voodoo dolls and the stereotypes, I know that's kind of, I don't want to say this incorrectly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think voodoo is tied to some religion of a country or culture that I'm not very well versed in, so obviously it's not going to be accurate by any means, but I know that the stereotype with voodoo dolls is using it to hurt other people, so I thought it might be kind of interesting to have that kind of juxtaposition where instead of using a voodoo doll to inflict harm on other people and stick needles in or whatever, or a puppet or whatever you may, instead of it being used to hurt other people, it's used to care for other people, as like this nurse character. So that's just kind of my thoughts behind the design. And the colors, at first you saw I was going to make it kind of pink skinned, but then I thought that looked too close to human, and it also kind of just looked weird. I didn't really like it, so I decided to do this kind of muted blue color, and I have blonde hair in real life, so I decided to give my little character blonde hair. I still think she looks more human than some of the other characters, but I guess that's okay. And obviously I had to give her a little nurse outfit, and the colors I stuck to were mostly the color of the hair. I did red and white because that's very hospitally color palette, I guess, and just little accents of black, and yeah, so I felt like the color palette came together pretty nicely. It felt pretty cohesive, really, and I kind of went back and forth on whether I wanted her to have a little medical bag. I think I ended up keeping it. And I wanted to shade this sort of as if it was 3D by, you can see that when I shade this one, I put a little warm ring or like a warm outline outside of the shading, and I find that helps give it more dimension. I also went over with a soft airbrush on Multiply and just kind of went around the sides just to make it look a little more as if it's actually an object and less 2D, although obviously this is still a 3D piece. And I will actually make a separate drawing showcasing more of the personality, and I actually prefer that drawing because this looks pretty stiff. Honestly, she looks kind of scary with the button eyes. It's giving Coraline a little bit, actually, like a little bit the other mother, but I think that's okay. It's a little creepy. I like horror. Maybe it's a nod to Coraline. That happens to be one of my favorite animated movies. I don't know, just somewhere it has a roots in my heart. So here we go. We can see that we're starting on the actual illustration. I wanted this to be a little looser and a little more freeform. You can see it's already looking pretty nice. And this is actually screen captured footage from Clip Studio Paint itself. So it is a little bit choppy. So sorry about that. Because you know, Clip Studio Paint usually when it records very fast, so I'm just slowing it down a lot, so that means that it's all choppy, so sorry about that, but it gives me time to actually talk about this stuff. I wanted her to feel very happy because my personality is very outgoing. I'm actually an extrovert, which is contrary to a lot of YouTubers and especially artists, I think. The button eyes just threw me for a loop, and I ended up just kind of simplifying to like this little dots and a little 4 things, and I wasn't sure whether to give her teeth. That was really funny. I was kind of debating, would giving her teeth be weird or would that be kind of cool? I decided it would be pretty weird because who gives dolls teeth? So I just decided to, you know, it might look a little more doll-esque anyways if I leave the teeth out and it makes it look a little softer. Still kind of weird, still a little creepy. I think this is probably the worst one that came out of all of them. I like the next 2 better. Spoiler alert, there's 3 drawings, oh my gosh. And so I don't really like this one as much, but I do prefer this drawing that I'm working on right now over the basic character design thing on the left. But I think it's really important to kind of draw your character in... Oh wait, would you look at that? I didn't keep the medical bag. Anyways, sorry, getting distracted. So I know that it's very important to draw your character first in kind of that neutral standing position, because then it helps you really flesh out their design, really get all of the details in there. Like for this drawing, I think it's a good drawing and it helps you get an idea of the character, but it still is kind of like you don't get to see the whole character. On the left, you get to see, oh, well, she has these kind of bandage-looking pants, and she has tall boots, and you can kind of see all the elements of her design and her arms. Now they're kind of stitched together, but you can't really see those details exactly on the right. So whenever you're designing a character, I highly recommend doing this, where you just kind of have them standing in a basic position first, and that allows you to then, when you're making actual illustrations, kind of reference that design and make it more accurate. And just whenever you draw the character, it'll always make it feel more cohesive and like they're this actual same character every time. Not that I would probably draw this character ever again. I mean, most characters that I draw for a video, I end up not really drawing them ever again. But I guess that's just kind of how it goes. When you have so many characters and you're constantly making a new one every video, you can't really keep up. So, anyways, I couldn't color pick the colors either because I had already shaded it, and for some reason I decided it was a good idea to merge all my layers. And so I just kind of tried my best and winged it a little bit. So the colors look a little warmer than the flats on the other one, but I actually kind of prefer how this one looks, actually. And so the shading on this one, my process for shading is usually just a simple cell shade, and then, or shell shade, or whatever you want to call it. I've heard it called both. And after that, I just kind of go in and I add some blendiness to it. I actually use Lavender Town's brushes for Clip Studio Paint. Well, technically I use the blender more. I don't really use the other ones, because the way that I work tends to be quite different. But I find that her Soft Surf Blendy brush is a godsend. It's beautiful. I love it. And the other two brushes are some names in what I assume is Japanese that I cannot pronounce, but I will put up images of them here. I think I've put up images of them here before, but I'll just do it again. So we're coming right to the end. I'm just probably going to add a couple more layers of lighting and color little fixes. And so yeah, here's my character for the Amazing Digital Circus, and I hope you like her. She was actually pretty fun to work on, but yeah, so let's get on to the next one. For this next one, I'm doing Little Witch Academia, and this one was pretty difficult because I was dumb and decided not to use a reference for any of it in the beginning. So those first couple sketches I just cut out because they're so long and they're horrendous, frankly. And so let's actually get into the real sketch that I had. So I knew that it was kind of a basic anime style. It was something that I had been watching for years, frankly. Ever since Little Witch Academia came out, I had been obsessed with it. So I decided to get a rough sheet, and I decided to really put together what I think I would look like in the style of this show. So I have bangs in real life, and so I gave my character some cute little bangs, and I'm just building out her character from here. I definitely needed the reference for the school uniform because there's no way that I was going to be able to do that myself or from memory. And so yeah, I'm just trying to study how they're drawing hair in the show, like different strands, what kinds of hairstyles that they tend to lean towards, because the types of hairstyles that I like to draw are a little more dramatic than the clean swoopy lines that are in the actual show. And you can see here that mine is a little choppy. It's very much so, I would say, my style, and so I clean it up and cut it down to make it more clean looking. And the eyes, I really like the eyes, but I looked at them and then I looked at the official art and their eyes don't look like that. They don't have that much shading. There's like a little shading at the top and some highlights, so I actually put in too much detail. It's really just a pupil and a little shine sometimes. And so yeah, now it was time to go on to the school uniform, which I thought I knew, but I did not. And also, interestingly enough, they don't actually have a line that separates their chin from their neck. It just kind of is one blob, and it's cute. It's cute. It's not something that I would have done without referencing something else first, but it's really interesting. I like it. It's kind of a fun stylistic choice, so obviously I had to incorporate it. And they have this really cute uniform that it just, I don't know, it is very magical, but they have like this weird little scroll hanging off of their skirt or whatever, and I wasn't really sure what that was, and I haven't seen the show in forever, so if any of you know what it is, comment below, because I was kind of lost and I didn't even bother to look it up because I'm dumb. But anyways, I incorporated it because they all seem to have one, so it's important, I guess. And yeah, just giving her a pleated skirt, and you can tell I'm kind of running out of things to talk about because I'm not, I don't know, the sketch process is just pretty simple. Just giving her a little basic pose that'll show off her design. This is actually probably my favorite illustration out of all of these. Contrary to the last one, which was my least favorite. I'm actually just gonna speed through the sketching process because there's not really much to say about it other than just me looking at the uniform, and here we go. So now we're finally onto the line art stage, and their line art is very thin and has very little variation, as most animes tend to have, and especially in the character illustrations, it was something that I wanted to look at. And of course there is some variation, like around the eyes, and the inner details are a little smaller, and I kind of emphasize that for my illustration because if you've seen my art, you know that I tend to have a lot of line variation within my drawings. It's just something that I value in my art, and so it's kind of difficult for me to not use that. I tried using a pen that had 0 line weight, but I just really hated how it was turning out, and so I decided to just use my trusty old pen, which I showed earlier in the video. And yeah, again, not really much to talk about really about this process. I mean, I will say that I had a lot of fun designing her, and I know that she looks kind of generic, and I gotta admit, she does look kind of like a generic blonde, but I wanted her to look kind of ditzy, because I am a little ditzy in real life, if I'm being honest, and I wanted her to just look fun and a little bit bubbly, but she's not special, because I'm not trying to make a main character here. I mean, if she was really in the show, I would probably assume her to be some sort of side character, someone who isn't the forefront, but maybe you see her in some episodes every now and then, and she has a couple roles in the show, but not really a whole lot. I gave her my signature blonde hair and green eyes, which is something that is pretty defining traits about me, I guess. And these colors, it doesn't show on the screen, but I was referencing the colors off of images that I pulled up of the characters. So, yeah, I was just mostly copying colors from there. And I remember the belt had some sort of significance, like the belt color, but I haven't seen this show for a very long time, so I don't actually remember what it means, but I know that it means something. I'm gonna go look it up after I record this. So we're actually nearing the end here. I colored the line art red because I didn't realize that the show actually has that. And yeah, I'm just doing some basic cell shading because the anime doesn't have that much shading. And we are just about done. Alright, so for the final show, I'm going to be doing Adventure Time. Yay! I know Adventure Time is insanely popular, so I'd be very surprised if someone hasn't heard of it. And I'm using Princess Bubblegum as kind of a base because I imagine that's probably closer to what I would look like in the show. We share a lot of similar characteristics, both being very interested in science, kind of girly, and yeah, just that generally. And I started off sketching and I was doing my, what I usually do for the legs until I realized that, oh, they probably have stick legs. Considering that they have stick arms, it's pretty safe to assume that the legs are not going to have muscles and knees that are particularly sticking out. So I am really thankful that this show has the simplest hands ever, and so they were super easy to draw. And I kind of wanted to come across as maybe a little bit of an attitude. I just think that's, I don't know, kind of funny to me. And I did these cute little bangs that make out the shape of an M. Do you get it? M for Mavvery. Well, anyways. So I wanted to give her hair that was similar to mine in real life. So obviously she has the bangs and her hair is a little bit layered. But obviously I didn't want to put too much detail because the style of Adventure Time is so simple. And obviously there's not really that much detail in the face, there's not too much detail in the hair or how it's layered, neither is that much detail in the clothes, but they do give detail where it matters, and I think where it matters is where it comes with the character. So when I'm designing her outfit, I'm very careful to make sure that it's not overcomplicated, but to make sure that it is still showing off her personality enough. So for her shirt, I wanted to give her a button-up because I feel like that's the closest that I would probably wear in real life, and I know that those exist. And at this point, I was still debating, like, is she human? Because there's only one human, and that's Finn, and people make a pretty big deal about it. I mean, obviously I know Finn's not the only human, but he's literally titled Finn the Human because in the region, he's pretty much the only human. So I decided to make myself a little bug, and I don't actually know if there are any bug people in Adventure Time. I know there's a lot of seasons, and I've been thinking about it, and I don't remember any bug people, but it does seem like something that would exist. So I made myself, not any specific bug in particular, but I did get myself cute little antennas and 4 arms, so I guess that's something. And then when we get to the coloring, it becomes a little more fantasy-like. So she turned out super cute, and I actually think that I emulated the style of Adventure Time pretty well. I did use a pen that has 0 line weight to better mimic the style of the show. And I was debating whether or not to give her blue skin, but I decided to give her orange skin because orange is actually one of my favorite colors. and I think it looks pretty nice. It's kind of like a burnt sienna, and this drawing was super easy to do because I didn't really do any shading because Adventure Time doesn't have too much shading, at least on the characters. And I tried out giving her brown hair, but I felt like it wasn't really a good reflection of me, so I ended up just going with blonde. And here they all are together. Let me know which one is your favorite. I know which one is mine. And let me know what you think. Did I emulate the style well? Do they look like they could belong in the show? Well, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for watching.